So I'm on my way about an hour south of Lexington. I had somebody reach out to me that's building two 818s. I want to check out his cars. He has some questions on how to install some things, so let's go for a ride. So I finally made it out to Chris's shop, and he's got quite a few projects going on here. We got an 818R that I've actually never seen in person. That's half the reason I want to come down here. Is he said he's working on an R, and I wanted to see what was different on these than the coupe I've been building for the last 2.5 years. We have an 818 coupe over here that he's working on also. It's just past the roller stage. Got the wheels and suspension on there, engine's in there, but not fully hooked up. So he had some concerns about body fitment on the other car and maybe some other things that we're gonna check out on this one today. So Chris was up in New York trying to buy an enclosed trailer when this car was sitting in it, so he decided just to buy the car along with it. Classic car guy problems. You go for one thing and you come home with another car. The 818R does not get a full windshield or any kind of roof, so it'll be open air like this. His windshield consists of this polycarbonate sheet that you will mount to the surface, and it sticks up just enough to give you a short windshield for racing. Kind of like that, but curved, as you can imagine. He's got a nice Kirky seat in it, thin aluminum racing seat. So the R also gets some additional safety framing on the sides. He has somehow magically made the Factory 5 shifter feel good. It actually is direct and tight, something I was never able to do. The engine has been rebuilt and tuned to a supposed 300 horsepower. So we had a little bit of a debate over this because my car maxed out around 275 horsepower with the stock turbo, and this still has the stock turbo, but it has no cat. And possibly some of the internals have been upgraded, we're not quite sure. He's still running the stock intercooler, so maybe 300? Oh, and he also has an aftermarket ECU. He says Mega Squirt, so there's a Mega Squirt ECU. He has this really nice spoiler that I'm really digging. This is pretty cool. Nice carbon fiber finish to this one. I think that's gonna look really good in the car when it gets to that point. We were talking about another common issue with these kits is how the fender and the hood and the door all meet up. He's having some trouble with the hood fitting this and having an even line in here. And then luckily on the R, the doors don't even open. These are just gonna be hard mounted, so you don't need to worry about the door actually swinging open. But on mine, I had to cut away a lot of this flange on my fender, so I had room to swing the door open. So that's something he does not have to worry about in this car. The guy he bought it from cut out these inserts kind of poorly and glued everything around it. So I'll probably have some damage control to do up here. And these first gens have a different style of bumper in the front, as you can probably tell. The headlight style is different. I've been told it's a Toyota Camry or Corolla headlight unit. And according to the box, these are from a 2006 Camry. So Chris was saying that in the cooling system, he was finding a bunch of little gumballs of coolant or silicone or something floating around in there. So he bought a filter for the coolant system that he's gonna use to filter out any of the gunk that's in there. So I don't know if that's debris from being rebuilt or two incompatible coolants somehow forming a sludge or something like that. I've heard some horror stories of Volkswagens and things like that using the wrong coolant and becoming sludgy. So I picked up this kit for a good price and got quite a few goodies that were included on it. So I'm excited to see how this one turns out. Chris has been working on his 818C for about a year and a half. And he still has the engine in there with the transmission sticking out. It doesn't seem like the wiring has been started yet, as he's starting to place the body on it and just check how everything sits on there. And we're talking about the hardtop, which is a sore subject for me because I chose not to cut out a lot of this bracket. It's interfering with my door, so I can slide the whole hardtop back. And because of that, on my car, I have a decent gap between the rear bumper and the hardtop. But if you don't slide it all the way back, you're left with a gap up here between the door and this portion of the hardtop. So you get to kind of choose which large gap you get to work with. All right, so Chris and I have been talking about a few things. The first thing he started off on was bump steer with the kit. So we're talking about not how straight the steering rack is or how straight the suspension arm is, but how they interfere with each other. You want them both to swing along the same arc. So That's where the bump steer kit comes in, to try and make both systems pivot along the same arc so they don't fight each other. And there's another common issue with the 818C, is just trying to access your brake cylinder and clutch cylinder right there. You can see the top is resting on the corner of that brake cylinder also. So you gotta cut that out even to get the hardtop to sit flat. If you remember in earlier videos, I had to cut out a window in the fiberglass here and take off this whole bottom part so you can actually reach them and fill them up or check the levels. So we're talking about adding AC and heat to the car, and I chose not to on my build, but Chris is considering doing it. He saved his stock AC unit, and I've only seen one guy use the Subaru stock AC. Another reason I didn't do it is because I had to relocate my fuse boxes from around back here to under my dash. So it took up a lot of the space that you would normally put like a vintage Air aftermarket AC unit. I have a lot of fuse boxes and other stuff under here. And I've never heard of this on a Subaru, but Chris had an incident where his transmission dipstick broke and got mangled in the transmission. So here's his stock dipstick right here. One of those two rivets cracked next to it and dropped off the piece. And this is when he pulled out of his transmission, at least part of it. It was all mangled in there and twisted up. He had to painstakingly go in there and pull it out. So he's bought a replacement one. And from this story, he's told me I'm gonna go and buy myself a new one too, just to make sure.
You can show my axle right here.
Okay, I'll make sure to grab that. And we revisited the axles on this car. So the instruction manual wants you to Frankenstein a few axles together. I forget what you even need to do, but you need the inner spline from one set and the outer spline from another set. Luckily now they offer a $100 option when you buy the kit for a new set of axles that drop in, and that's what I did, so I never had to go through that. Yeah, so we're talking about the waterproofness of this car. I don't consider my car waterproof. I mentioned to Chris that I've had water coming through here. I got caught in a light rainstorm one time and it somehow sprayed through there and was able to make it to my knee. So it's weird when you're driving down the road and your knee is getting splashed by rain. I'm sure you can improve on that and do better if you're careful how you build the car, but I consider mine a fair weather car that I don't drive in the rain. Be sure to check out my other videos, and thanks for watching.